What does it mean to stand when the shadow falls, when the light fades and the air grows thick with an unseen malice? What stirs in the heart to hold firm? In the ancient tales of Middle-earth, where songs of elves and men weave truths older than stone, there rises a city carved from the bones of the earth, its white walls gleaming against the tide of darkness. Minas Tirith. The Tower of the Guard stands not only as a fortress but as a beacon, a fragile flame of hope that dares to burn in the face of despair. How does such a city endure when the shadow of Mordor creeps ever closer, its red eye unblinking, its will bent on breaking all that is good? This is no question of mere walls or swords, but of the deeper currents that flow through those who dwell within, the fear that gnaws the burden that bends, and the silent faith that whispers even in the dark to hold fast. Let us walk then through the circles of the White City, not as scholars or warriors, but as wanderers seeking truths hidden in its stones, its silences, its stories. Let us listen to the echoes of those who stood upon its ramparts, who faced the shadow with trembling hands and resolute hearts. For in their struggle we may glimpse something of our own, a reflection of the battles we wage within, against the shadows that seek to claim us. Minas Tirith rises from the plains of Gondor like a prayer etched in stone, its 7 circles climbing toward the sky, each tier a testament to the hands that shaped it. Once it was Minas Anor, the Tower of the Sun, a name that sang of light and promise. But time, as it does to all things, has worn away that brightness. Now it is the Tower of the Guard, a sentinel watching the growing dark. Its walls are not mere stone, but memory layered with the dreams and failures of countless generations. To walk its streets is to feel the weight of legacy, not a crown of gold, not a treasure to hoard, but a mantle heavy and unyielding passed from father to son, from king to steward. In the high hall of the citadel, where the white banner of Gondor hangs still, we find Denethor, steward of Gondor, a man who bears this mantle not as a gift, but as a chain. His eyes are sharp, his mind keener still, yet there is a shadow in his gaze, a weariness that speaks not of battles fought but of battles feared. Denethor is no coward, let no tongue say so, but he is a man who sees too much. In the Palantir, the seeing stone, he has glimpsed the might of Mordor, the endless ranks of orcs, the fires of Mount Doom, the will of Sauron that presses like a storm against the mind. In those visions he sees not only the enemy without, but the frailty within his city, his people, his own heart. Legacy is a mirror showing not only what we inherit, but what we fear to become. For Denethor, the legacy of Gondor is a flame he must tend, yet he dreads its dwindling. He rules in the absence of a king, a steward who keeps the throne empty, yet the emptiness gnaws at him. He is not the hero of the tale, not the one foretold to wield the reforged sword, yet he must hold the city until that hero comes, if he comes at all. The strength of Minas Tirith lies not in its walls alone, but in those who bear the weight of its history. That weight is heaviest when borne alone. Fear is a quiet thing in the White City, not a roar, but a whisper. It comes not with the clash of swords or the thunder of hooves, but in the moments between, in the stillness of the night, when watchmen pace the walls and the stars seem dim. It is the fear of what may come, of what cannot be stopped. The people of Minas Tirith know this fear. They have heard the tales of old, of battles won and lost, of the shadow that retreated only to return stronger. They know the name of Mordor, and they know its master. Sauron is no myth to them, not a story to frighten children, but a truth that casts its pall over the fields of Pelennor, a darkness that grows with each passing day. This fear is not cowardice, though some might name it so. It is the weight of knowing what is at stake, not just a city, not just a kingdom, but the memory of light, of song, of all that makes life more than survival. To stand against such a force is to stand against despair itself, and despair fights from within. In the marketplaces of the lower circles where people gather to trade and talk, there are murmurs of doubt. Will the walls hold? Will aid come? Is there strength enough in Gondor to face the tide? These questions are not spoken loudly, but they linger like mist clinging to the stones. Yet fear does not rule Minas Tirith. There is another force quieter still moving through the city like a current beneath the surface. It is not courage, not yet, but something deeper, a refusal to let the shadow have the final word. We see it in the hands of healers preparing herbs and bandages not with hope but with duty. We see it in soldiers sharpening swords not with certainty but with resolve. We see it in children playing in the streets, their laughter a defiance of the silence fear would impose. Fear may whisper, but it does not reign. The heart of Minas Tirith beats not with the absence of fear, but with the choice to act in spite of it. Far from the White City, yet ever present in its fate, is a burden smaller than a man's hand, yet heavier than all the stones of Gondor, the One Ring. It is not here, not within the walls, but its shadow falls across the tale, for it is the heart of Sauron's power and the key to his dominion. The ring is no mere trinket, no weapon to be wielded lightly. It is temptation itself, a promise of strength that corrupts even as it seduces. To wear it is to gain power, yes, but to lose all that makes power worth having. Though the ring is far away, carried by a hobbit in the wilds, its influence reaches Minas Tirith. For the city stands not only against Sauron's armies, but against the very idea of the ring, the idea that power can save, that might can make right. In the citadel, Denethor wrestles with this temptation, though he does not hold the ring. His mind turns ever to the question of strength, how to muster it, how to wield it, how to make it enough. He does not seek the ring itself. His wisdom is too great for that, but he seeks its echo, the illusion of control. In the Palantir, he searches for knowledge, for certainty, for a way to bend the future to his will. But the stone is a trap, its visions twisted by Sauron's hand. What Denethor sees is not truth, but despair, a world where no strength is enough, no wall high enough, no sword sharp enough. In that despair, he begins to falter, not as a coward, but as a man who believes he must bear the burden alone. The greatest temptation is not to seize power, but to believe that you must. The ring's shadow falls not only on those who would wear it, but on those who think they can outwit it, outlast it, outwill it. Denethor's tragedy is not that he desires evil, but that he desires good too fiercely, too possessively, and in doing so risks losing what he seeks to protect. The city stands not because of one man's strength, but because of many, each carrying their own burdens, each resisting the whisper that says they must do it alone. In the streets of Minas Tirith, there are silences that speak louder than words. They are the silences of the lost, of those who will not return. The city has known loss before its history is written in the names of fallen kings of battles where the cost was paid in blood. Now as the shadow grows, the silences deepen. There are empty chairs at tables, empty places on the walls, empty spaces in the hearts of those who remain. Loss is not a wound that heals cleanly. It lingers like a note that hangs in the air long after the song has ended. Yet in these silences there is a stirring, a faint echo of something older, something unbroken. It is the song of hope, not a loud, triumphant anthem, but a quiet, persistent melody that weaves through the city's stones. It is the hope of the elves who sang of starlight before the sun was kindled, the hope of men who built towers to guard against the dark, the hope of hobbits who carry burdens they do not fully understand. This hope is not a denial of loss, but a defiance of it. It says that even in the silence there is a story yet to be told, a light yet to be kindled. We see this hope in Gandalf the White Rider, who comes to Minas Tirith not as a conqueror but as a guide. He is no stranger to loss. His own journey has been marked by fire and shadow, yet he carries a light that does not falter. In the citadel he speaks not of victory but of endurance, of holding fast until the hour comes. His words are not promises but reminders that the shadow is not eternal, that the stars still burn, that the tale is not yet finished. In his presence the silences of the city soften not because the loss is undone, but because the hope he brings is stronger. Hope is not the absence of silence but the courage to sing into it. The city does not stand because it is invincible, but because its people choose to remember the light even when it is hidden. They choose to sing though their voices tremble, to fight though their hands shake, to hope though their hearts ache. In that choice they weave a song that Mordor cannot silence, a song that carries them through the shadow and into the dawn. As we linger in the circles of Minas Tirith, the air grows heavier, the shadow closer. The city stands, but it stands on the edge of a knife, its fate balanced between the will of its people and the malice of its enemy. Yet even now in the gathering dark, a truth shines through. The stand of Minas Tirith is not a tale of walls or kings, but of hearts that refuse to break. It is the story of fear-faced burdens borne, temptations, resisted silences met with song. Though the dawn is yet to come, the city holds fast, its white stones gleaming like a promise that the light will return. Let us pause here, not at an end, but at a breath a moment, to listen to the wind that moves through the towers, carrying the echoes of those who stand, who wait, who hope. For the tale of Minas Tirith is not finished, and the shadow of Mordor has not yet had its final say. The city stands, and in its standing it speaks to us not of victory, but of the deeper courage that dares to face the dark and say, "Not yet." The wind moves through the white city, a restless breath that stirs the banners atop the towers and carries the faint scent of ash from distant fires. Minas Tirith stands its white stones catching the last light of a faltering sun. Yet the shadow of Mordor draws nearer, a tide that presses against the heart as much as the horizon. The tale does not pause here, for the city's stand is no single moment but a weaving of countless threads, each a choice, a sacrifice, a silent vow made in the face of the dark. Let us walk deeper into this story, not to recount the clash of armies or the strength of walls, but to trace the unseen currents that hold the city fast, the faith that falters yet endures, the loss that wounds yet binds, and the hope that burns like a star in the night. The circles of Minas Tirith hum with life even as the shadow looms. In the lower tiers where the common folk dwell, there is a rhythm to the days, a stubborn persistence that defies the growing dread. Smiths hammer iron into blades, bakers knead dough for the morning's bread, and mothers hush their children with lullabies older than the city itself. These are not the deeds of heroes sung in halls, but they are the heartbeat of Gondor, the quiet strength that keeps the city alive. Yet beneath this rhythm lies a question unvoiced but ever present. How long can such life endure when the enemy is no mere army, but a malice that seeks to unmake all that is good? In the citadel, high above the clamor, Denethor sits in his stone chair, his hands gripping the arms as if to anchor himself against the visions that haunt him. The Palantir has shown him much too much. He sees the armies of Mordor numberless and unrelenting, their banners black against the red sky. He sees the rivers choked with ash, the fields burned to dust. But worse, he sees the fragility of his own city, the cracks in the walls, the weariness in the eyes of his men, the absence of a king to rally them. Denethor is a man of reason, a steward who has counted every spear, every loaf, every heartbeat in Minas Tirith. Yet reason falters when faced with a foe that does not tire, does not waver, does not die. In the silence of his hall, he wrestles with a truth he cannot name, that faith, not strength, may be the city's only shield. Faith is a fragile thing in the White City, like a flame cupped in trembling hands. It is not the blind certainty of the fool, nor the bold defiance of the warrior. It is quieter, humbler, a choice to believe in something beyond the visible, beyond the certain. For the people of Minas Tirith, faith takes many forms. For some, it is faith in the old tales, in the promise of a king who will return to claim the throne. For others, it is faith in their neighbors, in the hands that will lift them when they fall. For a few, it is faith in something greater, a light that burns beyond the stars, beyond the reach of Sauron's shadow. But faith is not without its trials. It falters in the face of loss. It wavers under the weight of doubt, and it trembles when the night grows long. Gandalf moves through the city like a spark in the gloom, his white cloak a contrast to the gray stone. He is no stranger to faith, though his is a faith hard-won, tempered by fire and shadow. He has seen the world's beauty and its brokenness, has walked paths where hope seemed lost, yet he carries a light that does not dim. In the streets he speaks to the people not with grand promises, but with quiet truths. The shadow is strong, he says, but it is not eternal. Hold fast, for the dawn will come. His words are not a spell to banish fear, but a reminder that fear is not the end. To the soldiers he offers counsel, to the healers encouragement, to the children a smile that speaks of better days. Yet even Gandalf the White Rider knows the weight of doubt. He does not speak of the ring of the hobbit who carries it, of the slim thread on which the world's fate hangs. His faith is not in victory, but in the courage to endure until the tale is told. In the lower circles, where the walls are thickest, there is a man named Beregond, a guard of the citadel whose name will not echo in the songs of elves, yet whose heart is a microcosm of the city's stand. Beregond is no lord, no wizard, no hero clad in shining mail. He is a man of Gondor with calloused hands and a quiet voice, a father who watches his son play in the shadow of the walls. His faith is not in kings or prophecies, but in the duty that binds him to his post. He stands watch not because he believes he can defeat Mordor, but because he believes in the city and its people, its history, its right to endure. When the night grows dark and the air heavy with dread, Beregond does not falter. He sharpens his sword, he mends his armor, he whispers a prayer to the stars. His faith is small perhaps, but it is enough to keep him standing. Loss weaves through the tale of Minas Tirith like a thread of silver, beautiful and painful. The city is no stranger to grief. Its stones bear the marks of old battles, its halls echo with the names of the fallen. Now, as the shadow grows, the specter of loss looms larger. Every man who takes up a sword knows he may not return. Every woman who bids farewell to a son or husband carries the weight of what may come. In the houses of healing, where the air is thick with the scent of herbs, the healers work tirelessly, their hands steady even as their hearts ache. They know that some wounds cannot be mended, that some losses cannot be undone. Yet they work on not because they can save everyone, but because they can save someone. Loss is not merely the absence of life, but the absence of certainty. In the marketplaces there are whispers of Rohan, of the horse lords who may or may not ride to Gondor's aid. The beacons have been lit, their fires blazing across the mountains. But will the call be answered? The people of Minas Tirith do not know, and in that not knowing loss takes root. It is the loss of hope, the loss of trust, the loss of the world they once knew. Yet even here in the shadow of grief there is a binding force. Loss does not only break, it also builds. It binds the people of the city to one another, to their shared history, to the memory of those who stood before. In the silence of a widow's prayer, in the clasp of a soldier's hand, in the laughter of a child who does not yet understand, there is a strength that Mordor cannot touch. The One Ring, though far from the White City, casts its shadow still. Its presence is felt not in its physical weight, but in the temptation. It represents the temptation to seize control, to wield power, to make the world bend to one's will. In the citadel, Denethor feels this pull, though he does not name it. His mind is fixed on the defense of Gondor, on the strategies that will keep the city standing. But in his heart there is a deeper struggle, the desire to be enough, to be the one who saves his people. The Palantir feeds this desire, showing him visions of defeat, of a world where Gondor falls, and he is powerless to stop it. In these visions, Sauron's voice whispers not with words, but with despair, "You cannot win. You are alone." Denethor resists, but the resistance wears him thin. He does not seek the ring, but he seeks its promise. The promise of certainty, of strength, of a future he can shape. This temptation is not Denethor's alone. In the streets, in the barracks, in the quiet corners of the city, others wrestle with their own shadows. A soldier dreams of a single blow that could end the war. A merchant hoards grain, fearing the days of siege. A mother prays for a miracle to spare her child. These are not evil desires, but they are human, and in their humanity lies their danger. The ring's power is not in its gold, but in its ability to twist longing into despair, to make the heart believe that only power can save. Yet Minas Tirith stands because its people, for all their frailties, choose otherwise. They choose to fight, to share, to hope, not because they are certain, but because they are not. Hope is the song of the White City, a melody that weaves through its stones and its silences. It is not a loud song, not a triumphant march, but a quiet, persistent refrain that carries the people forward. In the houses of healing, hope is the steady hand of a healer who binds a wound. In the barracks, it is the laughter of soldiers sharing a tale of better days. In the streets, it is the voice of a child singing a song of starlight. This hope is not a denial of the shadow, but a defiance of it. It says that even in the dark there is something worth fighting for, something worth remembering. Gandalf is the bearer of this hope, though he does not claim it as his own. He moves through the city, a figure of light in the gathering gloom, and where he goes, the people take heart. He does not promise victory, for he knows the odds too well. He does not promise safety, for he has seen too much of war. But he promises presence, that he will stand with them, that they will not face the shadow alone. In his eyes there is a fire that speaks of ages past, of battles fought and won, of a world that still holds beauty. To the people of Minas Tirith he is a reminder that the tale is not yet finished, that the stars still shine, that the dawn may yet come. Beregond too carries this hope, though he does not name it. In the quiet moments before dawn, when he stands watch on the walls, he looks out over the fields of Pelennor and thinks of his son. He thinks of the world he wants to leave behind, a world where the shadow does not rule, where the white tree of Gondor blooms again. His hope is not grand, not the stuff of prophecies, but it is enough. It is the hope of a father, a soldier, a man who believes that his small part matters. And in that belief he finds the strength to stand, to watch, to wait. The shadow of Mordor grows, its presence felt in the air, in the earth, in the hearts of the city. The beacons burn, but no word comes from Rohan. The walls stand, but they are not unbreakable. The people hope, but they do not know. Yet Minas Tirith endures not because it is mighty, but because it is alive. Its strength lies in the hands that work, the voices that sing, the hearts that choose to stand. The city is a tapestry woven of faith and loss, of temptation and hope, and though the threads are fragile, they hold fast. As the night deepens, the white city gleams under the stars, a beacon in the dark. The tale does not end here, for the shadow has not yet spoken its final word, and the dawn is still a promise, not a certainty. Let us linger in this moment, listening to the wind that carries the songs of Gondor, the prayers of its people, the faint, unyielding hope that burns within. For Minas Tirith stands, and in its standing it whispers to us of the courage to face the dark, to bear the loss, to hold the light, and to say with every breath, not yet. The stars flicker above Minas Tirith, faint against the encroaching gloom, as if the night itself hesitates to yield to the shadow. The white city stands its towers, piercing the dark like a vow unspoken, yet the air grows heavier, thick with the promise of fire and ruin. The tale weaves onward, not as a march toward triumph, but as a pilgrimage through the heart's uncharted paths, where faith is tested, where sacrifice becomes a silent language, and where the smallest acts of defiance kindle the light that holds the dark at bay. Let us tread softly now through the streets and silences of the city, to seek the truths that bind its people, the trembling faith that dares to endure the sacrifices that carve meaning from loss, and the unyielding will that whispers even as the shadow roars to stand. The circles of Minas Tirith pulse with a quiet defiance, a rhythm that persists despite the gathering storm. In the lower tiers, where the stone is worn smooth by countless feet, life clings stubbornly to its patterns. Merchants barter in hushed tones, their wares fewer, now their eyes darting to the horizon. Blacksmiths labor through the night, their hammers ringing like a heartbeat against the stillness. In the homes where lamplight spills through narrow windows, families gather their voices, weaving tales of old Gondor, of kings and heroes, whose names are both comfort and weight. These are the unsung threads of the city's tapestry, the ordinary lives that form its foundation. Yet each act, each loaf baked, each blade forged, each story told, carries a question. How does one live when the end seems near? High in the citadel, Denethor sits alone, his gaze fixed on the unseen. The Palantir no longer holds him in its thrall, for he has seen all it can show: the endless hosts of Mordor, the fires that consume hope, the inevitability of defeat. Yet it is not the visions that break him, but the silence that follows. In that silence he hears the absence of his sons, Boromir lost to the wilds, and Faramir sent forth on a desperate errand to hold the river against the enemy. Denethor is a man of duty, a steward who has counted every cost, yet the cost of his sons is one he cannot bear. His faith, once anchored in the strength of Gondor, now frays like a rope stretched too thin. He does not doubt the city's worth, but he doubts its endurance, and in that doubt he begins to unravel. His is a faith not in gods or prophecies, but in the order he has upheld, the throne he has guarded. Now, as that order crumbles, he stands on the edge of despair, a man who sees no path forward but refuses to turn back. Faith in Minas Tirith is not a monolith, not a single creed etched in stone. It is a mosaic pieced together from the beliefs of many. For some, it is faith in the return of the king, a hope carried in the old songs that speak of a sword reforged and a crown reclaimed. For others, it is faith in the city itself, in the walls that have stood for centuries, in the white tree that, though barren, still roots deep in the earth. For the soldiers on the walls, it is faith in their brothers in arms, in the man who stands beside them, shield raised, eyes steady. And for a few, it is a faith that reaches beyond the visible to a light that shines even in the deepest dark, a presence that lingers in the stars above. This faith is not without its cracks. It falters when the beacons burn unanswered, when the scouts bring word of armies beyond counting, when the silence from Rohan grows too long. Yet it endures not because it is unshakable, but because it is chosen again and again in every moment of doubt. Gandalf moves through the city, a beacon in the twilight, his presence a reminder that faith is not certainty, but persistence. He has seen the world's fragility, has walked through shadow and flame, yet he carries a hope that does not waver. In the barracks, he speaks to the soldiers not of glory, but of duty, of the small acts that hold the line. In the houses of healing, he comforts the wounded, his voice a balm to their pain. To the children, he tells stories of the elder days of heroes who faced the dark and found light beyond. But Gandalf's faith is not blind. He knows the peril of the ring, the fragility of the plan that rests on a hobbit's weary shoulders. He knows that Minas Tirith may fall, that all their efforts may come to naught. Yet he chooses to stand, to fight, to believe, not because he is certain, but because he knows that faith is the refusal to let despair have the final word. In the shadow of the walls, Beregond stands, watch his eyes scanning the darkened fields of Pelennor. He is a man of simple faith, rooted not in grand visions, but in the ground beneath his feet. He believes in Gondor, in the city that has sheltered his family for generations. He believes in his son Pippin, who has sworn himself to the service of the steward, a hobbit far from home yet bound to this city's fate. Beregond's faith is tested each night as the air grows colder and the stars dim. He hears the whispers of doubt that the walls will not hold, that the enemy is too many, that his son will not see another dawn. Yet he stands, his hand steady on his sword, his heart fixed on the duty that defines him. His faith is not a fire, but an ember, small but enough to keep the dark at bay. Sacrifice is the silent language of Minas Tirith, spoken in the choices that go unseen. It is the soldier who takes the forward post, knowing he may not return. It is the healer who works through the night, her hands blistered, her heart heavy with the names of those she could not save. It is the mother who gives her last bread to her child, her own hunger, a secret she keeps. These sacrifices are not grand gestures, not the stuff of songs, but they are the mortar that binds the city's stones. They are the price of standing, the cost of hope. In the citadel, Denethor's sacrifice is different, but no less real. He has given his sons to the defense of Gondor, Boromir, to the quest, Faramir, to the river. He has given his peace, his hope, his very self to the stewardship of the city. Yet his sacrifice is tainted by despair, for he sees no future beyond the shadow. His is a sacrifice without faith, a giving that expects no return, and in that emptiness he begins to break. Faramir too knows sacrifice. Sent by his father to hold the river Anduin against the enemy, he rides out with his men knowing the odds are against them. He is not the golden son, not the warrior Boromir was, but he is a man of quiet strength, a scholar as much as a soldier. His sacrifice is not only in the risk of his life, but in the choice to obey a father whose love is shadowed by grief. Faramir does not seek glory, does not dream of a hero's return. He fights for Gondor, for the city he loves, for the people who look to him. His faith is not in victory, but in the rightness of the fight, in the belief that even a doomed stand can light the way for others. As he rides into the dark, his heart carries a song of the sea, of a world beyond the shadow, of a hope that endures. The One Ring, though distant, weaves its thread through the city's tale. Its temptation is not in its presence, but in its idea, the promise of power, of control, of a world made certain. In Minas Tirith, this temptation takes subtle forms. For Denethor, it is the lure of knowledge, the belief that if he can see enough, plan enough, he can hold back the tide. For the soldiers, it is the dream of a single victory, a blow that could end the war. For the people, it is the whisper of surrender, the thought that bowing to the shadow might spare them. These are not desires for evil, but for salvation, and that is their danger. The ring's power lies in its ability to twist hope into despair, to make the heart believe that only power can save. Yet the city stands because its people resist this lure, not with grand defiance, but with small choices to fight, to share, to endure. In the houses of healing, the women of Minas Tirith weave their own defiance. They are not warriors, not lords, but their hands are the city's lifeline. They bind wounds, brew remedies, sing to the dying. Their sacrifice is in their silence, in the pain they carry without complaint. They know the shadow's weight, for they have seen its work in the broken bodies brought to their care. Yet they do not falter. Their faith is in the lives they save, in the small victories that no song will name. They are the unsung heart of Gondor, the light that burns when all else fades. Hope remains the city's song, a melody that rises even as the shadow deepens. It is not a song of triumph, but of persistence, of refusal to let the dark have the final say. In the streets, it is the voice of a girl who braids flowers into her hair, defying the gloom with beauty. In the barracks, it is the oath of a soldier who swears to stand until the end. In the citadel, it is Gandalf's quiet counsel, his reminder that the tale is not yet told. This hope is not a denial of loss, but a claiming of life, a choice to see the stars, to hear the wind, to believe in a dawn that may yet come. Beregond, standing watch, feels this hope in the quiet of the night. He thinks of his son, of the hobbit who has become part of his city's story. He thinks of the white tree, barren but unbroken, a symbol of a promise not yet fulfilled. His hope is not in victory, but in meaning, in the belief that his stand, however small, is part of a greater tale. He grips his sword, his eyes fixed on the horizon, and in that moment, he is the city itself, steadfast, enduring, alive. The shadow of Mordor grows, its weight felt in every stone, every breath. The beacons burn, but Rohan's answer is still a silence. The walls stand, but they are not eternal. The people hope, but they do not know. Yet Minas Tirith endures its strength not in its might, but in its spirit. The city is a living thing, woven of faith and sacrifice, of temptation resisted and hope reclaimed. As the night closes in, the white city gleams a star against the dark, its tale unfinished, its heart unbowed. Let us linger here in the breath between shadow and light, listening to the city's song, the prayers of its people, the clink of swords, the faint, unyielding hope that carries them forward. For Minas Tirith stands, and in its standing it speaks to us of the courage to face the unknown, to bear the weight, to hold the light, and to whisper with every step, "Not yet." The night deepens over Minas Tirith, a velvet shroud pierced by the faint gleam of torches along the walls. The white city stands its stones resolute against the gathering dark, yet the shadow of Mordor presses closer, a malice that seeps into the bones of the earth and the hearts of those who dwell within. The tale flows onward unbroken, a river carving its path through the landscape of the soul, where courage is born in the crucible of doubt, where love becomes a shield against despair, and where the smallest sparks of defiance weave a light that no darkness can quench. Let us wander deeper into the city's story, tracing the threads of its endurance, the courage that trembles, yet holds, the love that binds through loss, and the will that dares to dream of dawn in the heart of night. The circles of Minas Tirith breathe with a quiet tenacity, even as the air grows thick with foreboding. In the lower tiers, where the streets are narrow and the homes huddled close, the people move with purpose, their lives a defiance of the shadow's weight. The clatter of carts echoes in the marketplaces, though the stalls are nearly bare. The laughter of children, fleeting but fierce, rings out in the alleys, a sound that cuts through the silence like a blade. In the forges, sparks fly as smiths shape steel into spears, their sweat mingling with the heat of the fire. These are not the deeds of legends, not the moments that will be carved in stone, but they are the pulse of the city, the stubborn rhythm that refuses to falter. Yet beneath this rhythm lies a tension, a tightening of the spirit, for the shadow is no longer a distant threat, but a presence felt in every glance toward the east. In the citadel high above the city's hum, Denethor sits in his hall, a figure of stone amidst the flickering torchlight. His mind is a battlefield torn between the duty that has defined him and the despair that now consumes him. The Palantir lies dormant, its visions no longer needed, for Denethor has seen enough. He sees the end. Gondor's walls breached its banners, torn its people scattered like ash. He sees his sons Boromir lost, and Faramir wounded their fates, a wound that bleeds within him. His courage, once a fire that burned bright, is now a smoldering ember choked by the weight of what he cannot change. Denethor is no traitor, no coward, but he is a man who has stared too long into the abyss, and the abyss has stared back. His courage falters not because he lacks strength, but because he lacks hope, and without hope, courage becomes a hollow thing, a gesture without meaning. Courage in Minas Tirith is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. It is a flame that burns unevenly, flaring bright in some and flickering in others, yet never fully extinguished. For the soldiers on the walls, courage is the grip on a spear, the nod to a comrade, the breath drawn before the horn sounds. For the healers, it is the steady hand that stitches a wound, the voice that soothes a dying man. For the mothers and fathers, it is the lie they tell their children that all will be well spoken, with a smile that hides their dread. This courage is not born of certainty, but of necessity, of the knowledge that to falter is to let the shadow win. It is a courage that trembles, that doubts, that weeps in the quiet hours, yet it is enough to keep the city standing. Gandalf walks the city's paths, his white cloak a beacon in the gloom, his staff a steady rhythm against the stone. He is a figure of courage not because he is fearless, but because he has faced fear and chosen to endure. He has stood against Balrogs and shadows, has walked through death and returned, yet his courage is not in his power but in his persistence. He speaks to the people not with promises of victory but with truths that anchor them. The night is long, he says, but it is not forever. Stand and the dawn will find you. His words are a spark kindling courage in hearts that had grown cold. To the captains he offers strategy, to the weary rest, to the fearful a reminder that they are not alone. Yet Gandalf's courage is tempered by knowledge, the knowledge of the ring of the fragile hope that rests on Frodo's faltering steps. He does not speak of this, but it weighs on him a burden he carries in silence. Beregond, standing watch on the ramparts, embodies the city's courage in his quiet resolve. He is no hero of song, no lord clad in glory, but a man of Gondor, his heart bound to the city and its people. His courage is in the small acts, the sharpening of his blade, the mending of his cloak, the prayer he whispers to the stars for his son Pippin who serves in the citadel. Beregond knows the odds, has seen the scouts' reports of Mordor's hosts. He knows that the walls may fall, that his life may be the price of the city's stand. Yet he stands not because he believes he can defeat the enemy, but because he believes in what he defends. His courage is a flame that burns steady, fueled by love for his son, for his city, for the world he hopes will endure. Love is the unseen thread that binds Minas Tirith, a force stronger than stone, deeper than despair. It is not the grand love of tales, not the passion of kings and queens, but the quiet, enduring love that holds fast in the face of loss. It is the love of the soldier for his brother in arms, the bond that makes him shield another's back. It is the love of the healer for the stranger. She tends her hands gentle, though her heart breaks. It is the love of the parent for the child, the sacrifice of hunger, of sleep, of hope, so that the young may live. In the houses of healing, this love is a tangible thing woven into every bandage, every murmured prayer. The women who work there, their faces lined with fatigue, are the city's unsung guardians, their love a shield against the shadow's despair. Faramir, lying wounded in the houses of healing, is a testament to this love. He has returned from the river, his body broken, but his spirit unbroken. His sacrifice, a gift to the city he loves. Faramir is not his father's favorite, not the warrior Boromir was, but his love for Gondor is a quiet fire burning bright even in his pain. He loves the city's history, its songs, its white tree that stands barren yet proud. He loves its people, from the lords in the citadel to the children in the streets. His love is not possessive, not demanding, but giving, a love that asks nothing in return. As he lies in the shadow of death, his heart holds to this love, a beacon that calls him back from the dark. Denethor's love too is real, though it is shadowed by grief. He loves Gondor, has given his life to its service, has borne the weight of its stewardship through years of waning hope. He loves his sons, though his love is tangled with expectation, with the need to see them as extensions of his will. His despair is born not of indifference, but of a love too fierce, too consuming, that cannot bear the thought of loss. In his hall alone he weeps for Boromir, for Faramir, for the city he believes is doomed. His love is a wound bleeding him dry, yet it is also the force that keeps him seated, that keeps him fighting even as his heart breaks. The One Ring. Though far from the White City casts its shadow over the tale, its temptation a whisper that echoes in every heart. It is not the ring itself that threatens Minas Tirith, but the idea it represents, the lure of power, of certainty, of a world made safe by force. In the citadel, Denethor feels this temptation in his need to control, to know, to shape the future. He does not seek the ring, but he seeks its promise, the illusion that he can save Gondor alone. On the walls, the soldiers feel it in the dream of a single victory, a moment that could turn the tide. In the streets, the people feel it in the fear that surrender might spare them, that bowing to the shadow might buy them time. These are not evil desires, but human ones, and that is their danger. The ring's power is in its ability to twist love into possession, courage into recklessness, hope into delusion. Yet the city stands because its people in their frail humanity choose to resist, not with grand gestures, but with the quiet refusal to let the shadow define them. Courage and love weave together in the figure of Pippin, the hobbit who serves in the citadel. He is far from the Shire, a small figure in a city of stone, yet his heart is a spark that lights the dark. His courage is not in his strength. He is no warrior, no wizard, but in his loyalty, his refusal to abandon those he loves. He serves Denethor, though the steward's despair chills him. He stands by Beregond, though the guard's duty binds him to the walls. He watches over Faramir, though he cannot heal him. Pippin's love is simple, unadorned, yet it is a force that holds him fast. When the night grows darkest, when the horns of Mordor sound, Pippin does not falter. He grips his sword too large for his hands and stands ready, a hobbit in a world of men, his courage a testament to the power of a heart unbound by fear. Hope remains the city's song, a melody that rises even as the shadow closes in. It is not a song of certainty, but of defiance, of the refusal to let the dark have the final word. In the streets, it is the voice of a woman singing as she works her tune, a thread of light in the gloom. In the barracks, it is the oath of a captain who rallies his men, his words a call to stand as one. In the houses of healing, it is the breath of a wounded man, faint but steady, a sign that life endures. This hope is not a denial of the shadow's power, but a claiming of the light, a choice to see the stars, to feel the wind, to believe in a dawn that may yet come. Gandalf carries this hope, though he does not claim it as his own. He moves through the city, his eyes bright with the memory of ages, his voice a reminder that the tale is not yet told. He does not promise salvation, for he knows the fragility of their stand. He does not promise victory, for he has seen too many battles lost. But he promises presence, that he will stand with them, that they will not face the dark alone. In his presence the people find strength, not because he is mighty, but because he is steadfast, a light that does not waver. Beregond on the walls feels this hope in the quiet moments before the storm. He thinks of his son, of the hobbit who has become part of his city's story. He thinks of the white tree, its branches bare but its roots deep, a symbol of a promise unfulfilled but not forgotten. His hope is not in triumph but in meaning, in the belief that his stand, however small, is part of a greater whole. He grips his sword, his eyes fixed on the horizon, and in that moment he is the city's heart, steadfast, enduring, alive. The shadow of Mordor looms, its presence a weight that presses against every stone, every soul. The beacons burn, but Rohan's answer is still a silence. The walls stand, but they are not eternal. The people hope, but they do not know. Yet Minas Tirith endures its strength not in its might, but in its spirit. The city is a living thing, woven of courage and love, of temptation resisted and hope reclaimed. As the night closes in, the white city gleams a star against the dark, its tale unfinished, its heart unbowed. Let us linger here in the breath between shadow and light, listening to the city's song, the prayers of its people, the clink of swords, the faint, unyielding hope that carries them forward. For Minas Tirith stands, and in its standing it speaks to us of the courage to face the unknown, to bear the weight, to hold the light, and to whisper with every step, "Not yet." The darkness gathers over Minas Tirith, a tide of shadow that swallows the stars and presses against the white stones of the city. The air is taut heavy with the scent of smoke and the distant rumble of war, yet the white city stands, its towers defiant, its heart unbroken. The tale flows onward, a song that weaves through the final hours of the night, not to proclaim victory, but to trace the deepest truths of endurance. The will that rises from ruin, the light that shines through brokenness, and the revelation that comes not in triumph, but in the courage to face the dawn, whatever it may bring. Let us walk now through the final threads of this story, to seek the essence of the cities, stand the will that defies despair, the light that endures in the dark, and the silent vow that carries the tale into memory. The circles of Minas Tirith are alive with the tension of the hour. In the lower tiers where the streets are worn and the homes stand shoulder to shoulder, the people brace for what comes. The marketplaces are silent now, the stalls empty, but the hands of the city are not idle. Men and women carry water to the walls, stack stones to mend breaches, bind wounds with trembling fingers. The children, too young to fight, gather in the shadows, their eyes wide but their voices steady as they sing songs of old Gondor, their small defiance a spark in the gloom. The forges are cold, their fires spent, but the blades they shaped gleam in the hands of soldiers, each edge a promise to hold the line. This is the city's lifeblood, the quiet, unyielding will that pulses through its veins even as the shadow of Mordor roars beyond the gates. In the citadel, Denethor's hall is a tomb of silence, the air thick with the weight of his despair. He sits no longer as a steward, but as a man broken by the visions that have consumed him. The Palantir lies abandoned, its lies no longer needed, for Denethor has woven his own truth from the fragments of what he saw. Gondor fallen, his sons lost his stewardship, a failure. His will, once a pillar of the city, has crumbled not from cowardice, but from a love too heavy a duty, too solitary. He sees no dawn, no hope, only the fire that he believes will cleanse his shame. Yet even in his breaking, there is a flicker of the man. He was a man who loved Gondor, who bore its weight until it crushed him. His tragedy is not the cities, for Minas Tirith stands not on one man's will, but on the many who choose to rise even when their hearts are heavy. Will is the fire of Minas Tirith, a force that burns in the face of impossibility. It is not the stubbornness of pride nor the recklessness of despair, but the quiet, resolute choice to stand, to act, to be. For the soldiers on the walls, it is the will to hold their ground though the enemy's numbers darken the fields of Pelennor. For the healers, it is the will to save one more life, though their hands shake with exhaustion. For the people, it is the will to live, not merely to survive, but to carry the memory of light, of song, of all that makes them who they are. This will is not born of strength, but of fragility, of the knowledge that the city is not eternal, that the shadow may prevail. Yet it is enough, for will is the root of all courage, the seed from which hope grows. Gandalf stands at the heart of the city, his white cloak a beacon against the dark, his voice a call to those who falter. His will is a thing of ages, forged in the fires of countless battles, tempered by the losses he has borne. He has seen the world's beginning, has walked through shadow and flame, yet his will does not waver. He moves through the city, a figure of light and purpose, rallying the defenders, guiding the lost, kindling hope where it has dimmed. To the captains he speaks of strategy, of holding the gates until aid comes. To the wounded he offers comfort, his hand steady on their shoulders. To the children he tells tales of starlight, of a world that will endure. Yet Gandalf's will is not without its burden. He carries the knowledge of the ring of Frodo's desperate journey, of the thin thread on which the world hangs. He does not speak of this, but it shapes his every step, his every word. His will is not in certainty, but in the choice to fight, to stand, to believe that the tale is not yet done. Beregond on the ramparts is the city's will made flesh. He stands, his sword heavy in his hand, his eyes fixed on the horizon where the enemy gathers. He is no lord, no wizard, but a man of Gondor, his heart bound to the city and its people. His will is not grand, not the stuff of prophecies, but it is unshakable. He thinks of his son Pippin serving in the citadel, a hobbit who has become part of this city's story. He thinks of the white tree, its branches bare, but its roots deep, a symbol of a promise that endures. Beregond's will is in his stand, in the choice to face the dark, not because he believes he can win, but because he believes in what he defends. His is the will of the common man, the quiet strength that holds the city together, the fire that burns when all else fails. Light is the city's defiance, a radiance that shines through the cracks of its brokenness. It is not the blinding glory of victory, but the soft, persistent glow of hope, of love, of will, made manifest. In the houses of healing, the light is in the hands of the women who tend the wounded, their faces etched with sorrow, but their eyes bright with purpose. They work through the night, their voices a soft hum of prayers and lullabies, their care a shield against despair. In the streets, the light is in the faces of the people, weary but resolute, their shared glances a silent vow to endure. On the walls, the light is in the glint of steel, in the banners that still fly in the eyes of soldiers who stand as one. This light is not unbroken, not untarnished, but it is real, a testament to the city's refusal to be consumed. Faramir, awakening in the houses of healing, is a bearer of this light. His body is frail, his wounds deep, but his spirit burns bright. He is not the warrior his brother was, not the leader his father wished, but he is a man of quiet strength, a scholar who loves the songs of old, a captain who loves his people. His light is in his gentleness, in the hope that lingers in his eyes, in the love that binds him to Gondor. As he rises, his gaze falls on the white tree, and he sees not its barrenness, but its promise, a promise of renewal of a world that may yet bloom. Faramir's light is not in his sword, but in his heart, in the belief that even in the darkest hour, there is something worth fighting for. Pippin the Hobbit in the citadel carries a light that is small but fierce. He is out of place in this city of stone, a stranger in a world of war, yet his presence is a spark that kindles courage in those around him. His light is in his loyalty, in the love that ties him to Beregond, to Faramir, to the city he has sworn to serve. When the horns of Mordor sound, when the gates tremble under the enemy's assault, Pippin does not flee. He stands, his small frame dwarfed by the chaos, his sword raised in defiance. His light is not in his strength, but in his choice to be here, to fight, to believe that his small part matters. In Pippin's heart, the Shire lives its green fields, a memory that fuels his will, a reminder that the world is worth saving. The One Ring. Though far from Minas Tirith casts its shadow still, its temptation a whisper that lingers in the city's darkest corners. It is not the ring itself that threatens, but the idea it embodies, the lure of power, of salvation through force of a world made certain by control. In the citadel, Denethor's fall is a testament to this temptation. his despair born of the belief that he alone could save Gondor. On the walls, the soldiers feel it in the fleeting thought of glory of a single act that could end the war. In the streets, the people feel it in the fear that resistance is futile, that surrender might spare them. Yet the city stands because its people resist this whisper, not with grand defiance, but with the quiet choice to be more than their fears. They choose to fight, to love, to hope, not because they are certain, but because they are human, and in their humanity lies their strength. Love remains the city's anchor, a force that binds its people through the chaos. It is the love of the soldier for his comrade, the bond that makes him stand when all seems lost. It is the love of the healer for the wounded, the care that keeps her at her post through the night. It is the love of the parent for the child, the sacrifice that gives all so the young may live. In the houses of healing, this love is a living thing woven into every touch, every breath. The women who work there, their hands worn but steady, are the city's heart, their love a light that no shadow can extinguish. Gandalf's love is for the world itself, for the beauty he has seen in its making, for the people who carry its story. His will is rooted in this love, a force that drives him to stand, to fight, to guide. He loves Minas Tirith not as a fortress, but as a living thing, a testament to the spirit of men. He loves its people, from the lords in the citadel to the children in the streets, and his love is a shield that holds them fast. In his eyes there is a fire that speaks of ages past, of a world that still holds light, and in that fire the city finds strength. The shadow of Mordor crashes against the gates, its armies a tide that seeks to drown the city. The horns blare, the drums thunder, and the air is thick with the cries of war. Yet Minas Tirith stands, its walls battered but unbowed, its people weary but unbroken. The beacons have burned, and now in the final hour the hoofbeats of Rohan echo in the distance, a faint promise of aid. The white tree stands in the citadel, its branches bare but its roots deep, a symbol of a hope that endures. The city is a living thing, woven of will and light, of love and defiance, and though the night is dark, it is not the end. The revelation of Minas Tirith's stand is not in victory, but in the courage to face the dawn. It is the courage of Beregond standing on the walls, his sword raised for his son, his city, his world. It is the courage of Faramir rising from his wounds, his heart fixed on the promise of renewal. It is the courage of Pippin, a hobbit in a world of men, his small light burning bright against the dark. It is the courage of the people who choose to live, to love, to hope, though the shadow roars. This courage is not a resolution, not a triumph, but a song that fades into memory, carrying the truth that the light endures, that the tale goes on, that the heart can stand even in the darkest night. Let us pause here, not at an end, but at a breath, a moment, to hear the city's song, the clash of steel, the prayers of its people, the faint, unyielding hope that carries them into the dawn. For Minas Tirith stands, and in its standing it speaks to us of the will to face the unknown, to bear the light, to weave a story that no shadow can silence. The tale does not end, but fades like a melody carried on the wind, whispering with every note, "Not yet."